From the Communication Arts Center in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, this is UWSP News Team.
Good evening, I'm Kyle Banke.
And I'm Andy Davis. On tonight's newscast, a new chemistry building may lead to some interesting parking problems on campus. What do you need to know?
Social Justice Issues Committee recently hosted an event which brought some dark topics into the light. What information was revealed?
And a new club on campus is booming in numbers. What is the club and how can you get involved?
But first, those students looking for different options for on-campus housing next fall may want to check the suites. Reporters Lance Castor has more.
For as long as the suites at 201 have been in existence, each of the suites have always been occupied by people of the same gender. That won't be the same next year, however, as changes will be implemented.
The idea to make a gender-inclusive policy in the suites came about through an RIJ proposal from last year, also had support through Student Senate. And so the students recommended that we look at this policy. They gave us ideas that they had in terms of location. The suites was what they identified as would be a good place that students would be interested in having that option. So we pulled the committee together and looked at that in the fall.
This year, since the policy states that only 4 people of the same gender can be living together in one suite, there are 4 men living together in this suite: Matt, Eli, Nick, and Alex. Next year, when the policy change comes into effect, Eli could very well be an Elizabeth, and Nick could very well be a Nicole. 2 men and 2 women could be living together in the exact same suite. So why did UWSP decide to implement this change? Well, for one, they wanted to make sure students had more living options available to them.
Well, we see many benefits for the students who choose this living option. Mostly, it's an option that they now have. They can choose roommates that they're comfortable with, that they, again, can make selections based on criteria that's important to them, not the ones that are important to the institution.
They also considered what happens in off-campus housing.
We think that the gender-inclusive housing option gives us some competitiveness with off-campus housing. Students have the flexibility to choose their own roommates off-campus. So we think that having that available in the suites is very comparable to living off-campus, and so we hope that that will help some students who maybe felt like living on campus was restrictive for them in the past.
Since the gender inclusivity policy in the suites is coming into effect in the fall of 2014, I sat down with some suites residents to see what they thought of the change.
Well, I wouldn't foresee too many challenges, I guess. I would keep to myself, and I would think that somebody of the opposite gender would take my gender into consideration, and they would probably remain pretty private about their gender-specific activities. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the suites are set up in such a way that they're pretty private. You can keep the gender issues separate.
For the most part, the residents seem to be on board with the policy, as long as all of the parties involved came to a shared understanding.
When living with someone of the opposite gender, I think the only changes you'd have to make would just be make sure you can get along just like with any other roommate.
With such great support from both students and the administration, UWSP can expect more attempts at gender inclusivity in the future.
I just encourage if students have those kinds of ideas, if there's an interest in talking about an option that they don't think is available, please know that there are venues for that and that there's people willing to listen.
I'm Lance Castor, reporting for UWSP News Team.
Ms. Duckworth says that if gender inclusivity goes over well in the suites, the university may look to expand that living option to other residence halls on campus as soon as the fall of 2015.
Some big changes are coming to the university in regard to the science building and parking spaces. For more on the subject, we go to Andrew Spencer. Starting in 2015, construction on the new chemistry and biology building will begin on the current site of Parking Lot X. In the past, plans included discussions about building a parking structure in Lot T to replace the lost space from construction, but those plans are no more. Instead of building a $9 to $12 million parking structure, the university has decided to go with a cheaper option that students and nearby residents should both be happy with. After discussing the issue with people on and off campus and coming up with ideas that included building a parking structure and limiting the number of student vehicles on campus, the university has decided on a plan that involves purchasing land near campus and building new parking lots. One parcel of land located on Portage Street has already been purchased and would provide up to 85 metered parking spaces to replace those lost from Lot X. The university also has the option to purchase land next to Lot T, which would enlarge Lot T by 25 spaces. Metered parking would also be moved to Lot T, with the chance of Lot Q also getting metered parking. Parking fees will also increase, but not as much as they could have if a parking structure had been built. Currently, the plan would be to raise fees from $94 to $125 to cover costs, but if the structure had been built, that fee would have gone up to $278. Even with the increase to $125, the fee would be one of the least expensive parking fees in the UW system. Students aware of the plan had this to say.
It kind of bothers me because that's metered parking, and then which means spots are going to have to be taken out of other lots like T and Q to make up for that. I would feel better about it if it was for the students, but I heard there's supposed to be metered parking, which we usually don't use metered parking because we purchase a parking pass. I had to pay an expensive parking pass to be in high school, and it was nice to come to a place where it was a lot cheaper and more reasonable for a year.
More metered parking. I don't know. I never carry change with me, so it's like I always would forget to pay it or something, so.
While this provides a solution to the parking situation right now, a parking structure will eventually have to be built in the next 5 to 7 years to accommodate the increase of cars on campus. For Point News, I'm Andrew Spencer.
More metered parking is sure to be a subject of controversy for students who usually park in university lots. Coming up after the break, we will be speaking with Mary Duckworth to discuss how co-ed suites will be beneficial for students. Stay tuned.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
The next 30 seconds can save you a lot of money. Just do your laundry in cold and stick to full loads. Auto-sleep your computers. Plug your gadgets in a power strip and switch it off when you're done. Headed out? Turn back your thermostat by 10 degrees. And drive sensibly. The more energy you save, the more money you save. Find other great tips at energysaver.gov.
Here to speak more on the new gender inclusivity plan for the suites is Mary Duckworth, Program and Assessment Coordinator for Community Development and Education. Thank you for joining us, Mary.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me, what is your role exactly in sort of implementing gender-neutral housing?
Well, I work in the central office at Residential Living, and I was the chair of the committee that came together to create the proposal for the gender-inclusive plan within the suites for this fall.
Okay. What have been some of the major hurdles moving forward with this plan?
There's been several things that we've had to keep in consideration. The first is some Board of Regent rules we've had to work within. Luckily, the suites gives us some options in terms of separate bedrooms that gives some flexibility for students to live with roommates of their choosing. Mm-hmm. We've also tried to be very attentive to the students and what they're saying that they wanted, and so we wanted to make sure that this proposal encapsulated all the feedback we were hearing from them in terms of roommate selection, roommate changes throughout the year, ways that we would implement that, and some additional staff programming and staff needs that we would put within that building.
Sure. Now, I think I've read that some of the other UW schools are implementing gender-neutral housing. Is that true?
Yes, our proposal looks very similar to several other UW schools around the state. All of them exist in a suite-style living option, again, mostly because of the Board of Regent policies that we're working within.
Sure. So was there a certain amount of checking to see how their system worked in order to move forward with UWSP's?
Absolutely. We did a lot of collaborative work with our sister institutions. We looked at their proposals, talked to them about how they've been going. Several of them are in their second or third year of implementation. So we're able to take some of the lessons they learned in their proposals and hopefully avoid them at ours.
Have you found a lot of hesitation with this?
No, actually, we've had a lot of excitement. The students have been asking for options like this. We certainly had some administrative hurdles that we wanted to make sure we were attentive to, but the hesitation hasn't been there. People have been excited to see how students will respond.
Sure. So what do you think this is going to mean for incoming students? Will they see, I think they said in the package by 2015, some of the other residence halls may have gender-inclusive housing?
We are currently exploring that option. Again, as I preferenced before, the Board of Regents do have some limitations within that, but we are currently looking at a proposal for fall of 15 and what that might look like in a traditional hall. So that's still to come. But our hope is that incoming students will see this option in the suites and will note the progress that we're making, trying to make other options available, and we'll use that as a tool to recruit students.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Mary. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Coming up after the break, we talk about the Tunnel of Oppression, an event on campus that brought some people to tears.
We will next the women's Final Four had on the Stevens Point community. Stick with us.
Listen now, can you hear the bluebirds? Oh, look up now, can you feel the sun? Whoa, 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 whoa. Can you feel the sun?
How you doing? My name's Steve. My family's lived in this neighborhood for years. Recently, things got so tight, we had to go to our local food bank for help. I lost a lot of sleep worrying about what the neighbors might think. That is until I saw them there, too. How'd I do, Steve?
A little stiff. You could have done a little better.
What? Come on. You know, I have an Academy Award.
Yeah, but not for playing me.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
The Social Justice Issues Committee put on a new program this year that touched many participants' hearts and minds. Reporter Ashley Homer has more.
Students, faculty, and other community members came down to the Praise Sims Hall basement April 3rd and 4th for a new program by the Social Justice Issues Committee called Tunnel of Oppression.
Yeah, Tunnel of Oppression is hard to describe sometimes to someone who hasn't been through it, but that's also part of the beauty of it. So when I try to tell people what to expect, it's an emotional, interactive experience that has different components.
The topics discussed covered a wide variety of social justice issues and were presented both passively and actively.
Some of the skits that we had were transgender issues, sexual assault. We had our alcohol and drug room. It was kind of like a party room. We also had body image. And then some of the more passive ones that we had kind of relayed back to them. We had homelessness. more of the domestic violence, kind of adding on to it.
The committee saw a turnout to the program that was much larger than they had expected, since it was the first year the tunnel was being brought to UWSP.
I was hoping, truthfully, my personal goal was 150 people, and we had about 300, so we doubled what I thought was going to happen. People loved it, and people knew that it was important, and then they wanted to help with it. And so I think it went phenomenal for the first year. There were definitely, bumps along the way, which is bound to happen for your first year.
The feedback that the program received was mostly positive, and some students were even moved to tears.
It was very eye-opening. I feel like everyone's aware of the issues, that happen in the world, but I don't think people are that aware of how often it happens or how close to home it may happen. I really enjoyed it. I think that it was good, especially for a small campus here where it's not a very diverse population.
I do hope we do it again in the future, just because it went so good for just the first time doing it, and we can only get better from now on.
This was the Social Justice Issues Committee's largest program put on, and they are all hoping to keep it an annual tradition. This is Ashley Homer for UWSP News Team.
The committee has already begun preparations for next year's Tunnel of Oppression. Seems like the program is here to stay.
Another thing that's here to stay is UWSP women's basketball. While the Division III women's basketball season is over and the championship has left Stevens Point, impacts from the tournament are still being felt. The UWSP campus is seeing substantial benefits from hosting NCAA tournaments, such as ticket and concession sales, but most importantly, prestige. The NCAA tournament also benefited local elementary students that met with the teams.
Brings awareness about our community to a lot of people who didn't normally know about Stevens Point. It brings a lot of people to our restaurants and our shops and gas stations, as well as lodging, which is good for the economy as well.
The University of Wisconsin Stevens Point is one of 449 schools in the Division III athletics. If everything goes as planned, we will continue to see more tournaments hosted at UWSP in the future.
Coming up, some exciting news from Vatican City. Hear about the historic event that happened this past Sunday.
What if you could invest in the future of kids, like a stock? Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow.
My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Danse, balance la cadence, ondule bien tes hanches, au bal du dimanche. Danse, que la fête commence, dans ma belle robe blanche, je suis ton chou.
You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
A historic event. Before hundreds of thousands of pilgrims in St. Peter's Square Sunday, Pope Francis canonized two former pontiffs, John the 23rd and John Paul II. CNN's Ben Wedeman was there.
They came early and in the hundreds of thousands.
some from far, far away. To witness the canonization of two giants of the Catholic Church, Pope John XXIII, who oversaw the reforms begun at the Second Vatican Council, who made huge strides to close the gap between Jews and Catholics, and Pope John Paul II, the globe-trotting Polish pontiff credited with helping bring down communism in Europe. Unlike John, who died 51 years ago, many here still have vivid memories of John Paul.
He's just everything we always wanted, you know, he's always smiling, even when he was in pain. Just like, you know, I'm sorry, I'm just overwhelmed.
He was a strong voice against communism, so I think without his help and his support, we wouldn't be able to fight back.
Sunday was a day for contemplation, the mood more somber than celebratory, with some lost in deep prayer.
This is indeed a unique moment in the history of the Catholic Church. It's the first ever double canonization, and it's the first time a canonization has been overseen by two living popes, Pope Francis and Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI.
Francis himself went about his duties in a low-key manner, aware perhaps that on this day his predecessors should be center stage. Though some in the square suggest Francis may someday be on the fast track to sainthood.
If he continues to be popular with the people, if he continues to present the gospel to people in such a warm way and a way that resonates so widely, then I'm sure that maybe in the fullness of time he may be declared a saint.
But tomorrow's saints will have to wait. The focus and the fervor is on the saints of today.
Pope John Paul II actually visited Stevens Point back when he was still a cardinal, in August 1976. This week, our Point Eats team got a taste of the cafe life, as they ventured outside the campus to try local coffee delicacies. And the League of Legends Club may not be exactly what you would expect it to be. Stay tuned.
Will spend 15 minutes watching online videos like this one.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
And now to Point Eats visiting Zest.
We traveled just one block off campus to come to Zest Bakery and Coffee House to see what they had to offer. Let's go check it out. So Zest has a lot to offer if you're into teas, coffees, specialty kind of drinks, and desserts. For example, today I was able to get a fruit turnover, a cookies and cream cheesecake bar, and a bagel, but there are many other options available. For example, when I was up at the counter, I saw strawberry cheesecake bars, chocolate chip cookies, and brownies. I was also able to get a great cup of hot chocolate, but for those of you who are into tea or coffee or lattes, there's a wide array of options available for you here.
I get tea usually, and I like a lot of teas, so.
I like how they have a large assortment of different teas too, that are actually worth getting, a good cup of tea. It's just a tea bag that.
I'm going to give this place 5 Landsheads out of 5, and here's why. It's readily accessible. I mean, it's only 1 block away from campus. The atmosphere here is great. The people are very chill, it's nice and relaxing, the music is wonderful. The prices are affordable. I mean, I've got this and more only for $11. And it offers more variety than Starbucks, for example. You can get all sorts of different things here. Lastly, it's environmentally conscious. You know, they're very conscious about their waste and how to be sustainable, and I think that's a great advantage for someone who's into that sort of thing. For Point Eats, I'm Lance Castor.
And now we go to Alec Griffey with more on the League of Legends Club.
UWSP has a variety of student-run organizations, ranging anywhere from knitting clubs to anime clubs. There is one organization in particular, however, that has been gaining popularity at lightning speeds among students. This would be the League of Legends Club.
Over the summer, we got up to about 110 members, and then last semester we gained about another 40. Right now we're at about 166 members online.
Chris McCrae, a music major on campus, started the club in April of last year after he noticed that Riot, the company that makes the game, was starting a collegiate program. Not only would this bring the community together, but Riot would also send out gifts to the club for their work.
If you want to host a tournament, if you want to host a viewing party of a game that's on, all you need to do is contact them a couple weeks in advance and they send you free stuff. And then you just basically send them pictures of what you did and basically share with the community. It's a really cool sort of network we have online.
So what is League of Legends and why is it so popular?
League of Legends is an online multiplayer battle arena type game, and the reason I like it is just like I said, it's really competitive. I get to play with my friends. You know, it keeps my mind sharp. Really makes me think. Really makes me push myself mentally to like compete online with these really skilled players.
One of the major draws for players is that the game itself is actually free to play. All you have to do is sign up online and you're good to go.
Chris says the game has a substantial learning curve, but although most players tend to be people already dedicated to computer work, the demographic for the game is still very mixed.
Definitely more prone to the nerdy computer types, but it's really cool to see that spread. I know a couple of our members are on the dance team, a couple of our members are on football teams or you know, cross country here, and then you've got, you know, music students, you've got art students, just a real slew of, you know, different people.
The club is a way for students to make friends and take a little break from the stresses of school from time to time.
I would say that, you know, I got to do what I got to do. You know, I'm in the National Guard. You know, I got to do my duty as a soldier, got to do my duty as a student, and then if I have some time off, I'll play some League of Legends. I'll play a lot of League of Legends. So I always find time for League of Legends is what I'm getting at. So it's a fun game.
Chris says that he hopes to see the club hit the 500 member mark someday. This is Alec Griffey for UWSP News Team, reporting.
More than 27 million people play League of Legends on a daily basis. That is up from 12 million back in 2012. So, Andy, have you ever played League of Legends before?
You know, I haven't, Kyle, but I had a roommate last year that did.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm more of a Minecraft guy.
You know what, as a matter of fact, I am too. I heard it came to PlayStation recently as well.
Yes, that's very exciting. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Kyle Benke for the UWSP News Team.
And I'm Andy Davis. Good night.